Hello, everyone, and a massive welcome back to English Unlocked, the art of thinking in English. I'm your host, Jason.
And I'm Julia, your co-host. Absolutely thrilled to be with you today. Jason, I have a feeling this episode is going to be a game changer for so many of our listeners.
I couldn't agree more, Julia. We're diving deep into a topic that's fundamental, yet often a huge hurdle for English learners, the journey from translating in your head to thinking directly in English.
That's right. If you've ever found yourself mentally wrestling with your native language, trying to painstakingly convert every thought into English before you dare to speak, then you are in exactly the right place. That mental gymnastics act, it's exhausting, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's like trying to run a race while carrying an extra backpack filled with dictionaries. You see the finish line, fluent conversation, but that internal translation process is weighing you down, slowing your pace, and sometimes making you stumble.
So true. Many learners, and I mean a vast majority, initially approach English through the lens of their mother tongue. They construct a sentence perfectly in their native language, then meticulously search for the English equivalents, word by word, phrase by phrase. And by the time they've assembled it, the conversation has moved on, the moment has vanished, or the connection feels lost.
It's a common experience, and certainly nothing to be ashamed of. It's a natural starting point. But today, we're not just going to talk about the problem, we're here to offer a roadmap. We're going to equip you with practical, actionable strategies to retrain your brain, to shift its default operating system, so to speak, from your native language to English when you're in an English-speaking context.
And trust us on this one, listeners. When you unlock the ability to think in English, it's like a magic key that opens so many doors. Speaking becomes more fluid and spontaneous. Listening comprehension sharpens dramatically because you're processing information directly. Even your writing will feel more natural and less, translated?
Precisely. So if you've ever dreamed of expressing yourself in English with the same ease and naturalness as you do in your native language, if you're tired of that mental lag, stay tuned. We're about to share some powerful, transformative techniques that will help you break free from the translation trap.
Let's not just dive in, Jason. Let's take a deep plunge.
Segment 1. Why thinking directly in English is a non-negotiable for fluency. All right, Julia, let's lay the groundwork. Before we get into the how, let's really unpack the why. Why is this skill, thinking directly in English, so utterly crucial for anyone serious about mastering the language?
That's the million-dollar question, Jason, and the answer is multifaceted. The most immediate and obvious benefit is fluency. If your brain is constantly acting as a translation service, there's an inherent delay. Think about it. Your native language thought is process A. Translating that thought into English is process B. Speaking the translated thought is process C. That's 3 steps where there could ideally be just 1 or 2.
Exactly. It's like having a middleman in your own mind. This translation tax eats up precious milliseconds, which accumulate into noticeable pauses and hesitations. Fluent speakers, on the other hand, have a more direct pathway from thought to speech. Their ideas often originate in English, or at least the linguistic framework for them does.
And this leads to another critical point: naturalness. Word-for-word translation rarely results in natural-sounding English. Every language has its own unique rhythm, its own idiomatic expressions, its own sentence structures that don't always have a direct one-to-one equivalent in another language.
Oh, absolutely. I remember a student who, translating directly from their native language, would say, "I have hunger," instead of "I am hungry," or "I made a photo" instead of "I took a photo." Grammatically, "I have hunger" isn't a total disaster, but it immediately flags the speaker as non-native and sounds quite unnatural to an English ear.
Precisely. And when you think in English, you start to internalize these natural patterns and collocations, words that frequently go together. You start to feel what sounds right rather than just intellectually knowing the rules. This feel is a hallmark of advanced proficiency.
Let's talk about confidence, Julia. This is a huge one. When you're constantly second-guessing your translations or fumbling for the right words because your brain is juggling two languages, your confidence can take a nosedive.
It really can. But imagine the shift. You start thinking in English, and suddenly words and phrases begin to flow more readily. You're responding more quickly in conversations. You're not as afraid of making a mistake because you're not overthinking every single word. This success, even in small increments, builds a powerful sense of self-assurance. You start to feel like an English speaker, not just someone who studies English.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And this confidence isn't just internal, it projects externally. People respond more positively when you speak with assurance, which further boosts your confidence. It's a virtuous cycle.
Another massive benefit is the improvement in listening skills. This might seem counterintuitive at first, but think about it. If your brain is already operating in English mode, it can process incoming English speech much faster and more efficiently. You're not trying to hear English, translate it into your native language to understand it, then formulate a response in your native language, translate that back into English, and then speak. That's a recipe for getting lost in any fast-paced conversation.
So true. When you think in English, you start to recognize chunks of language, phrases, and sentence patterns directly. You're not just decoding individual words, you're grasping meaning at a more holistic level. This is essential for understanding native speakers, who often speak quickly, use idioms, and might have various accents.
And it's not just for conversations. Think about watching movies without subtitles, listening to English podcasts like this one, or understanding song lyrics. If your brain is primed for English, you'll catch so much more, so much faster. The comprehension barrier starts to crumble.
And let's not forget pronunciation and intonation. This is an interesting one. When you think in English, you begin to internalize the sounds, the rhythm, the music of the language. You start to hear sentences in your head the way a native speaker might say them.
Yes, this internal auditory template is incredibly helpful. You develop a better ear for the nuances of English phonetics, stress patterns, and intonation contours. This, in turn, can significantly improve your own spoken English, making you sound clearer and more natural. You're not just saying words, you're conveying meaning with the appropriate musicality of the language.
We could even extend this to writing. When you think in English, your written content tends to flow more logically and coherently from an English perspective. Sentence structures are more varied and appropriate, and your arguments are constructed in a way that resonates with English rhetorical styles.
And perhaps a more subtle benefit, Jason, is a deeper cultural understanding. Language and culture are inextricably linked. By thinking in English, you start to grasp some of the cultural nuances embedded within the language. The humor, the politeness conventions, the directness or indirectness in communication.
That's a profound point. So, to quickly recap this crucial why segment, thinking directly in English is paramount because it unlocks true fluency by eliminating translation delays, fosters natural-sounding speech by internalizing native patterns, massively boosts confidence, sharpens listening comprehension, refines pronunciation and intonation, improves writing, and can even offer deeper cultural insights. It's not just a skill, it's the gateway to truly living in the language.
Absolutely. And now that we've hopefully convinced everyone of why this is so critical, they might be thinking, okay, I'm sold. But how? My brain is so wired to my native language.
And that's a valid concern. It's a habit, and habits can be hard to change. But the good news is they can be changed with awareness and consistent practice. But before we jump into the solutions, Julia, I think it's vital to address some common pitfalls, the mistakes learners often make that inadvertently keep them stuck in that translation loop. Understanding these roadblocks is the first step to dismantling them.
Couldn't agree more. Let's illuminate those common mistakes so our listeners can steer clear of them.
All right, we've established the why. Now let's talk about the why nots. Those common mistakes that learners, often with the best intentions, fall into, which actively prevent them from developing the ability to think in English.
Yes, shining a light on these is so important. Sometimes we're not even aware we're making them. The first, and arguably the biggest culprit, Jason, is what you alluded to earlier, an over-reliance on translation as the primary learning strategy.
This is the big one. Many learners believe that the path to English is through constant, meticulous translation. Every new word is immediately looked up in a bilingual dictionary. Every sentence they want to produce is first formed in their native tongue and then painstakingly converted.
Exactly. It's like trying to learn to swim by reading a book about swimming and then mentally rehearsing the strokes while standing by the pool instead of actually getting in the water. Your brain needs to experience English directly. If it's always using the native language as a crutch, it never learns to walk or swim independently in English. The neural pathways for direct English thought simply don't get a chance to form and strengthen.
It's like keeping the training wheels on a bicycle indefinitely. You might be moving, but you're not truly balancing or riding freely. You need to trust your brain's ability to form connections and sentences directly in English, even if it feels wobbly at first.
Another very common mistake, and one that often stems from traditional grammar-focused schooling, is focusing too intensely on grammatical perfection while trying to think or speak.
Oh, this is a fluency killer. So many learners get bogged down trying to construct the perfect sentence in their minds. They're mentally checking verb tenses, prepositions, articles, and subject-verb agreement before they even utter a sound.
And what happens? The conversation moves on, or they become so self-conscious and hesitant that their speech becomes stilted and unnatural. Grammar is undeniably important for clarity, but fluency thrives on flow. Native speakers, Jason, do we consciously dissect every grammatical rule as we speak?
Absolutely not. We speak, and then if we realize we've made a significant error, we might self-correct. But the thought process isn't subject plus verb, past tense, third person singular plus object. It's more intuitive. And guess what? Native speakers make grammatical mistakes all the time in casual conversation.
That's so true. We use sentence fragments. We end sentences with prepositions. We might occasionally use a who where a whom is technically correct in very formal writing. The pursuit of flawless grammar during the act of thinking or spontaneous speaking often leads to silence or very slow, labored speech. It's about communication, not linguistic perfection in every utterance.
This brings us to the third major mistake, an overwhelming fear of making mistakes. This fear can be paralyzing. Some learners are so terrified of saying something wrong, sounding foolish, or being judged that they clam up. They'd rather say nothing than risk an error.
And if you're not speaking, you're not practicing. If you're not practicing, you're not improving. It's a vicious cycle. Making mistakes is not just inevitable in language learning, it's essential. It's how we learn, how we identify areas for improvement, how our brains recalibrate. Think of a toddler learning to walk. They fall down hundreds of times. Do they give up? No, they get back up. Each stumble is a data point for their brain.
Exactly. Fluency is built on a mountain of imperfect attempts. You need to give yourself permission to be imperfect, to sound a bit awkward at times. The more you practice thinking and speaking in English, even with errors, the more those errors will naturally diminish over time. Embrace the oops moments.
A fourth common mistake, and this is a big environmental factor, is not surrounding yourself with enough English input, essentially a lack of immersion.
This is critical. If your daily life, your thoughts, your entertainment, your information consumption are overwhelmingly in your native language, your brain will naturally default to that language. It's the path of least resistance. English remains an academic subject rather than a living, breathing tool for daily life.
Precisely. If English is confined to a 1-hour class twice a week or a few grammar exercises, but the other 23 hours of your day are spent entirely in your native tongue, it's very difficult for your brain to make that cognitive shift to start thinking in English. It simply doesn't get enough exposure or perceive English as a relevant everyday mode of operation.
Immersion doesn't necessarily mean moving to an English-speaking country, though that certainly helps. It's about consciously curating your environment to include more English. English music, English podcasts, like this one, English movies and TV shows, English news, English books, making English a part of your daily sensory input.
And one last mistake I'd like to touch on, Jason, is having unrealistic expectations or seeking a quick fix. Many learners want to think in English now and get frustrated when it doesn't happen overnight.
That's a really important point. Learning to think in a new language is a gradual process. It's not like flipping a switch. There will be good days and bad days, moments of clarity and moments of mental fog. Patience and persistence are key. There's no magic pill.
So let's quickly recap these common roadblocks. Over-reliance on translation, using your native language as a constant crutch, obsessive focus on grammar during thought or speech, prioritizing perfection over flow, fear of making mistakes, letting anxiety stifle practice and progress, insufficient immersion, not providing your brain with enough English input, unrealistic expectations, wanting instant results and getting discouraged too easily.
Recognizing these patterns in your own learning journey is the first powerful step. If you see yourself in any of these descriptions, don't worry. The good news is awareness is curative. And now that we've identified these traps, we're perfectly poised to share some robust step-by-step strategies to help you sidestep them and actively cultivate the habit of thinking in English.
Yes, the exciting part. Let's get into the practical how-to and empower our listeners with tools they can start using today.
All right, Julia, this is where the rubber meets the road. We've explored the why and identified the common pitfalls. Now, let's equip our listeners with concrete, actionable strategies to actually train their brains to think directly in English. This is about building new mental habits.
Absolutely. And the first strategy is wonderfully simple yet surprisingly effective. We call it the labeling game, consciously naming things around you in English.
I love this one because it's so accessible. You can do it anywhere, anytime. You're sitting in your living room, don't just see a sofa. Think sofa, couch. Look at the window, curtains, sunlight. In the kitchen, refrigerator, stove, sink, cattle.
And you can take it a step further. Don't just name the object, describe it or its state or what you're doing with it. So instead of just cup, you could think a blue ceramic cup, or I am drinking tea from my favorite cup, or this cup is hot. This starts to build simple sentence structures around the vocabulary.
Precisely. You're creating immediate, real-world associations between objects, actions, and their English names and descriptions. This bypasses the need to translate from your native language word for cup. Your brain starts to directly link the visual and conceptual input to the English word. It's like building a foundational English layer in your mind for your immediate environment.
Okay, strategy number 2, which builds beautifully on the first, is the inner monologue. Actively talking to yourself in English, silently at first if you prefer.
This is a powerful one. It might feel a bit strange initially, like you're having a conversation with no one, but it's incredibly effective. You can narrate your day, your actions, your thoughts, all in English, inside your head.
For example, when you're getting ready in the morning, okay, first I need to brush my teeth. Where's the toothpaste? Ah, here it is. Now, what should I wear today? The blue shirt or the white one? It looks like it might rain, so maybe I should take an umbrella.
Exactly. You're essentially practicing formulating thoughts directly in English. There's no pressure, no audience, so you don't have to worry about mistakes. You can say something, then mentally rephrase it if it doesn't sound right. It's a safe space to experiment with the language.
And the more you do this, the more natural it becomes. You start to develop an internal English voice. You can describe what you're seeing as you walk down the street, comment on the food you're eating, plan your evening, all in English, all in your head.
This leads us to strategy number 3, making the switch to an English-to-English dictionary. This is a game changer for many learners.
Oh, absolutely. Many learners are accustomed to bilingual dictionaries where they look up an English word and get the translation in their native language, or vice versa. But using a monolingual English-to-English dictionary forces your brain to stay within the English language.
Think about it. You encounter a new English word, say, exasperated. Instead of finding its direct equivalent in your native tongue, you look it up in an English dictionary and it says something like feeling or expressing intense irritation or annoyance. Now, your brain is connecting exasperated with other English words and concepts like irritation, annoyance, feeling.
This builds a rich network of English vocabulary in your mind. You're not just learning isolated words, you're learning them in context, defined by other English words. It helps you understand nuances of meaning that are often lost in direct translation. It's a crucial step in immersing your thought processes in English.
Okay, strategy number 4. Start by thinking in simple sentences and short phrases. Don't try to construct complex, elaborate thoughts in English right away.
This is so important. Many learners feel overwhelmed because they try to translate the complex, nuanced sentences they can effortlessly produce in their native language. This leads to frustration and a feeling of inadequacy.
Instead, aim for simplicity, short, declarative sentences. For example, instead of trying to think, I am contemplating the distinct possibility that if the current meteorological conditions persist, my planned excursion to the park this afternoon might regrettably need to be postponed. Just start with, it might rain. Park trip might be off. I need a plan B.
Exactly. Rainy day, no park. What to do? Keep it simple, keep it manageable. As you get more comfortable thinking in these simple structures, your brain will naturally start to combine them into more complex thoughts over time. It's about building a solid foundation.
Strategy number 5 builds on the inner monologue. Actively cultivate an English inner voice for decision-making and problem-solving.
This is about making English the language of your internal deliberations. For example, if you're trying to decide what to cook for dinner, try to have that internal debate in English. What do I have in the fridge? I have chicken, some vegetables. Maybe I could make a stir-fry or perhaps roast chicken? Stir-fry's quicker. Yes, stir-fry it is.
Or if you're facing a small problem, try to think through the solutions in English. My internet isn't working. Okay, first step. Check the router. Is it plugged in? Are the lights on? Maybe I should restart it. This trains your brain to use English for functional, purposeful thinking.
And finally, strategy number 6, which underpins all of these, systematically increase your English immersion. We touched on this when discussing mistakes, but it's also a proactive strategy.
Absolutely. The more English you expose yourself to, the more familiar your brain becomes with its sounds, rhythms, and structures. This isn't just passive exposure, like having an English TV show on in the background while you scroll through your phone. It's about active engagement.
So change your phone's language to English. Change your social media settings to English. Listen to English podcasts on topics you enjoy, hopefully including this one. Watch English language movies and TV series, perhaps starting with subtitles in English, then eventually trying without. Read books, articles, blogs in English that genuinely interest you.
The key is to make English a pervasive part of your environment. The more your brain hears, sees, and processes English, the more readily it will begin to think in English. It starts to recognize English not just as a subject to be studied, but as a valid and useful medium for engaging with the world.
So let's do a quick recap of these powerful strategies. The labeling game, Name and describe things around you in English. The inner monologue, talk to yourself in English, narrating your day and thoughts. Monolingual dive, use an English to English dictionary. Simple sentences first. Start with short, manageable thoughts. Cultivate an English inner voice. Use English for internal decision-making. Systematic immersion. Actively increase your daily exposure and engagement with English.
These aren't one-time fixes, of course. They are habits to be cultivated. But the beauty is you can start implementing them immediately, bit by bit, and each small step reinforces the next.
That's right. And now that we have these core strategies, how can our listeners weave them into their daily lives to make thinking in English a consistent, ingrained habit? That's what we'll explore next. Practical daily exercises.
We've laid out some fantastic strategies, Julia. But, as with any skill, knowing what to do is only half the battle. Consistently doing it is where the real transformation happens. So let's talk about simple, practical daily exercises listeners can incorporate to make thinking in English a deeply ingrained habit.
Exactly, Jason. Consistency is king. These aren't massive, time-consuming tasks, but small, repeatable actions that over time will retrain the brain. First up, a lovely way to frame your day, start and end your day with English thoughts.
I really like this one. The moment you wake up, before your brain fully boots up in your native language, try to formulate your first few thoughts in English. It could be as simple as, "Good morning. It's Tuesday. I need to get up. What's on my schedule today?"
Yes, and then, before you go to sleep, do a little mental review of your day in English. Okay, what did I accomplish today? I had that meeting, it went well, I talked to Sarah, I felt a bit tired in the afternoon, what am I looking forward to tomorrow? This creates English bookends to your day, priming your brain at the start and reinforcing it at the end.
It's a gentle nudge, but done daily, it really helps. Okay, daily exercise number 2. Establish a no translation zone for a set period each day.
Ooh, I like the sound of that. This is a dedicated time, maybe starting with just 15-30 minutes, where you consciously commit to only thinking in English. No mental translation allowed.
During this time, whatever you're doing, whether it's household chores, your commute, or just quiet reflection, make a deliberate effort to keep your internal monologue in English. If a native language thought pops up, gently redirect it back to English.
It might feel challenging at first. You might struggle for words, or your thoughts might feel simpler than usual. That's perfectly fine. The goal isn't perfection, it's practice. The more you do it, the easier and more natural that English-only mental space will become. You can gradually increase the duration of your no translation zone as you get more comfortable.
Excellent. Daily exercise number 3. Practice talking to yourself in English out loud for a few minutes each day. We talked about the inner monologue, but vocalizing it adds another dimension.
Yes, this could be while you're making breakfast, getting dressed, or even when you're alone in the car. Describe what you're doing, what you see, how you feel. Okay, I'm chopping these onions. They're making my eyes water a bit. Now I'll add the garlic. This is going to smell delicious.
The act of speaking out loud engages different neural pathways. It helps with pronunciation, intonation, and the physical act of forming English sounds. And again, because you're your own audience, there's no pressure. If you stumble over a word or phrase, just try again. It's your private practice arena.
Daily exercise number 4. Consciously use English while performing simple, routine activities. This is about integrating English thinking into the mundane.
So if you're cooking, try to think about the recipe steps in English. If you're driving or on public transport, describe the journey or the scenery to yourself in English. If you're exercising, maybe count your reps in English or think about your form in English.
Okay, 10 more push-ups. Keep my back straight, breathe, or the traffic is quite heavy this morning. I hope I'm not late. Oh, that's an interesting billboard. It's about finding those small pockets of time in your daily routine and intentionally switching your brain to English mode.
And finally, daily exercise number 5, a classic but incredibly effective tool. Keep a simple English journal.
This doesn't have to be a lengthy essay every day. Even just a few sentences will do. Write about your day, your thoughts, your feelings, your plans, anything that comes to mind. The key is to do it in English.
And the focus here shouldn't be on perfect grammar or sophisticated vocabulary, especially at the beginning. The primary goal is to practice expressing your thoughts directly in English, getting them out of your head and onto paper or a screen. It's a fantastic way to track your progress over time, too. You can look back at earlier entries and see how your ability to express yourself in English has grown.
Plus, writing gives you a bit more time to formulate your thoughts than spontaneous speaking, so it can be a good bridge. You can look up words in your English-to-English dictionary if you need to, reinforcing that habit as well.
So, let's quickly summarize these daily exercises for building that English thinking muscle. English bookends, start and end your day with English thoughts. No translation zone, dedicate a specific time daily to think only in English. Vocal practice, talk to yourself out loud in English for a few minutes. Narrate your life, use English during routine activities. And English thought journal, write down your thoughts in English regularly.
These small, consistent actions woven into the fabric of your daily life will compound over time. Thinking in English won't feel like a chore anymore, but a natural, almost automatic process.
Absolutely. But even with the best strategies and daily habits, learners will inevitably face some challenges and moments of frustration. It's important to acknowledge these and discuss how to navigate them, which is exactly what we'll do after this short break.
Welcome back to English Unlocked. We've covered some fantastic strategies and daily exercises for thinking in English. But let's be real, Julia. The path isn't always smooth. Learners will encounter obstacles and moments where they feel stuck or frustrated.
That's so true, Jason. It's a journey, and every journey has its challenging stretches. Acknowledging these challenges and having strategies to overcome them is crucial for staying motivated and making progress. One of the most persistent challenges is that natural tendency for the brain to default to the native language, especially when tired or stressed.
Yes, that mother tongue magnetism is strong. You might be doing great, thinking in English for a while, and then suddenly your brain just slips back into its old, comfortable groove. The solution here is patience and gentle redirection. Don't beat yourself up about it. When you notice it happening, just gently guide your thoughts back to English. Start with a simple English word or phrase to get back on track.
And remember those simple sentences we talked about. When your brain feels tired, reverting to very basic English thoughts is much easier than trying to maintain complex ones. Small, consistent efforts are key, especially when you're feeling that pullback to your native language. Using your English-to-English dictionary during these moments can also help re-anchor your brain in English mode.
Absolutely. It's creative problem solving in English. And later, when you have a moment, you can look up the specific word if you still want to know it, further enriching your vocabulary.
Now, this next one is a biggie for many learners, feeling like you're not making progress, which leads to a dip in motivation.
Oh yes, the dreaded plateau. Progress in language learning, especially with something as internal as thinking, isn't always linear or obvious. You might be improving, but it's happening so gradually that you don't notice it day to day.
The best solution here is to find ways to track your progress, however small. That English journal we mentioned, looking back at entries from a few weeks ago or months ago can be incredibly eye-opening. You might be surprised at how much more fluently you're expressing yourself.
Recording yourself speaking, even if it's just your out-loud self-talk, can also be a powerful tool. Listen back to recordings from different time periods. You'll likely hear improvements in your fluency, pronunciation, or vocabulary use that you weren't consciously aware of.
And celebrate the small wins. Did you manage to think in English for your entire 30-minute no translation zone today? Awesome! Did you successfully describe a word you couldn't remember? Fantastic! Acknowledging these small victories keeps your motivation high.
Another challenge can be feeling silly or unnatural when talking to yourself in English or consciously trying to think in English. It can feel a bit artificial at first.
This is completely normal. Any new habit feels a bit strange initially. The key is to push through that initial discomfort. Remind yourself why you're doing it: to achieve fluency, to communicate more effectively, to unlock new opportunities. The more you practice, the less silly and more natural it will feel. It's like learning a dance move, awkward at first, but smooth with practice.
And connect with other learners if you can. Knowing you're not alone in this process can be incredibly encouraging. Share your struggles and successes. Sometimes just knowing others are going through the same thing makes it feel less daunting.
So, to recap these challenges and solutions: defaulting to native language, be patient, use gentle redirection, and simplify your English thoughts. Vocabulary gaps: practice circumlocution and paraphrasing to keep thinking in English. Losing motivation or not seeing progress? Track your progress, journaling, recording, and celebrate small wins. Feeling silly or unnatural? Acknowledge it's normal and persevere. It becomes natural with practice.
The overarching message here is persistence and kindness to yourself. Thinking in English is a skill, and like any skill, it takes dedicated time, consistent effort, and a willingness to embrace the learning process, bumps and all.
Wow, Julia, we've journeyed through quite a landscape today. From understanding why thinking in English is so vital, to identifying common mistakes, to arming our listeners with strategies and daily exercises, and finally, navigating the inevitable challenges. It's been comprehensive.
It really has, and I hope our listeners feel empowered and equipped to start or continue their journey towards thinking fluently in English. Remember, everyone, this is not about achieving perfection overnight. It's about making a conscious shift, taking small, consistent steps, and being patient with yourselves.
Absolutely. The transformation that occurs when you break free from the translation barrier is truly profound. Your relationship with the English language changes. It becomes less of a foreign code to be deciphered and more of a natural extension of your own thoughts.
So, to our amazing listeners, we have a little challenge for you. What's one specific tip or strategy from today's episode that resonated with you the most? Which one are you going to commit to trying out this week?
We'd love to hear from you. Let us know in the comments section if you're watching this on YouTube, or reach out to us on our social media channels. Share your experiences, your challenges, and your successes. Your journey can inspire others.
And if you found this episode valuable, if it sparked some new insights or gave you practical tools, please consider liking it, sharing it with fellow English learners, and subscribing to English Unlocked for more deep dives into mastering the English language.
Your support helps us reach and help more learners just like you. Keep practicing, keep immersing yourself, and most importantly, keep working on thinking in English. You've got this.
We'll be back soon with another episode designed to help you unlock your English potential. Until then, happy learning and happy English thinking.